So, as you know, many of you, I do a lot of podcasts. Every single day I listen to at least a podcast, and usually, for the most part, it's in the morning. So in the morning, I'll go through a podcast, and I'll get a lot of nuggets from it. However, I am very selective with the podcast that I listen to, and it comes with experience. You got to understand that I've been doing self-improvement for the longest. I'm 39 years old. I own a lot of businesses, and all the businesses are doing multi-millions. So I kind of know what I'm doing. So I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I'm very selective. My concern is that I recommend a lot of you to watch podcasts. However, anybody can do podcasts now. So I'm realizing more and more that there's just so many podcasters out there, so many podcasts. Anybody can do podcasts, and there's just so many podcasts out there, and it's just crazy because I came across one podcast, and I'm not going to mention the name of the podcast. I'm not going to mention the names of the people, but I'll tell you, it's two guys, right? And it's just the information that's given, first of all, is not the right information. So it's like a bunch of bullshit. It's a waste of time, and even worse, it's going to make you worse. So it's going to put you in the worst spot. And a lot of especially young millennials that are coming up, and younger ones, you don't want to learn this stuff. You want to stay away from this, but you don't know any better. So make sure when you listen to podcasts, they are recommended by somebody that you respect. Like, for example, somebody that's really successful, if they recommend a podcast, listen to it. But you got to stay away now from a lot of these podcasts, and so when you listen, if you don't have anybody to kind of guide you or recommend you a podcast, what I would do is, before you listen to a podcast, Google the person's name. Google the person's name and just kind of see, okay, well, have these people opened up any businesses? Have they sold businesses? Are they successful? What's their net worth? What do they own? And just look at their life. Like, are they married? What do they drive? What do they wear? Where's their office? Do they really have a business? Or are they just want to be social media people? Like want to be social media influencers. So you got to look into all this, okay? Now, be selective. Like I said, you got to be selective. But what you want to study is where you are now. So the reason why you want to study where you are now is because you want to get to the next step. You want to make your next move. A lot of people are maybe studying people that are way, way beyond the level that they are in. And you don't want to do that because it's information that you can't apply now. So study people, and maybe if there's somebody, let's say for example myself, okay? You're studying Albert. Now, maybe you're not nowhere near close to where Albert is today, but maybe go back 5 years, 3 years, and study the Albert from 5 years ago, 3 years ago, and that way you can catch Albert on the cycle. And then you could be like, okay, well, Albert was here. Albert talks about like 3 years ago, he was in a bad spot, and he went down to the last property. Go back and study how I was able to perform during that time, and study me where I was 3 years ago, 5 years ago. So that's what I would do. Don't study people that are way, way beyond you where you are now, because that's not going to help you. Now, be focused only on your next 3 moves. So know what your next move is, and then what the move after that is. And I would even go a third move, but focus on those 3 instead of trying to figure out, well, in 5 years from now, I'm going to be on move, 20 or 30 or whatever. Don't do that. Focus where you are right now and know your next move, the following one and the following one, and stay focused. A lot of people look too far ahead. A lot of people think too small. So that's another problem. You don't want to think too small. How does this happen? This happens when you spend time with the wrong people. It could be family, it could be friends, it could be co-workers, it could be anybody. So I see a lot of people that I look back at their last 5 years, last 10 years, last 3 years, and I'm like, hey, you haven't been growing. You're still stuck making the same income you were making 3 years ago. Like, what's going on? That is not growing. That is not winning. You got to get better, not stay the same, because if you're staying the same, you're really getting worse. So a lot of people, I see that, but then I start looking at more in depth. Okay, so why is this? Why is the problem? And I see that these people spend all their time, their weekends, after hours, before they get to work. They go to the wrong places and they spend time with the wrong people. They go to the wrong gyms. They stay at the wrong hotels. They go to the wrong, I said events already. So this is why these people stay the same. They don't grow. And 3 years ago, they were making the same income. 5 years ago, they were making the same income. So you're not getting any experience. And I say this a lot. You have 1 year of experience and you've been repeating it 5 times. So you have 1 year of experience repeated 5 years. 5 times. So that is beyond, like, I can't believe why that happens. Every year you should be doubling your income. So if you're making 50 grand, focus on making 100 grand next year, and then 200 the next year, then 800, then you break $1 million. Don't say, oh, well, I'm gonna make $1 million next year, and you're making 50 grand this year. It's not gonna happen. It's not realistic. Unless you win the lottery, it's not gonna happen. Trust me, I've been there. I've seen a lot of people. I'm 39 years old and I have a lot of experience. And yeah, have I had failures? Many of them, but I always come back. And I see a lot of people that talk about the past. Hey, you know what? I used to have a business. I used to do this. I used to do that. I used to. I call these I used to people. And then they end up aging and then they don't get anywhere. They don't have any success. So that's why it's really important. Not only because somebody is 60 years old or somebody has a lot of experience doesn't mean that you need to pay attention to them, because there's a lot of people that are 60 and they're not winning. They're defeated. They're just making excuses and they spend time criticizing other people that are winning at a younger age. So you got to watch the source of your advice. Really, really important. And one more thing is understanding cycles. You know, there's a lot of cycles. You got to know which season you're in. For example, I'll give you, I've been talking about this, but for example, right now rates are up, right? So people are panicking, especially people in the lending industry. They're like, oh my God, I'm a loan officer. Rates are up. What am I going to do? And a lot of people are giving up. A lot of people are let me put this down. A lot of people are changing industries. A lot of people are getting jobs, and because they don't know how to handle it. Oh my God, the rates are high. So understand, look, rates go up and rates go down. Property values go up and property values go down, but property values always continue to go up. So even though they have a little dip and they go down a little bit, they always recover and continue to go up. It's always going vertical. Study real estate. You're never going to find a house for 80 grand in Burbank, California. Like when my parents were shopping for homes, they were looking in Burbank for 80 grand. It's not going to happen anymore. That was 1990s, okay? Early 1990s. No more. Now you'll never find a house for less than $1 million in Burbank. Now, having said that, understand seasons, okay? So when right now the rates went up, there's no more refis. But guess what? When rates start going down again, they go down half a point. Every 6 months, they go down half a point, which happened to us in the last 3 years. And everybody was going after the refi boom. Everybody was making a lot of money. Of course, anybody's going to do good when you have 2% interest rates. So everybody's killing it. But guess what? Weak people are going to quit right now. And then guess what? A year from now, maybe a year and a half, maybe less, then rates are going to start coming down again. And then there's going to be another refi boom. And then you're going to remember, man, you know what? I should have stayed. That's why you should always focus on purchase loans, purchase mortgages for purchases, because those are always going to be here. People are going to buy when the houses are down. People are going to buy when houses are up. So understand that. Understand recessions, okay? You know, a recession, what is it? A fall in GDP 2 consecutive quarters. Okay, so did we have a quarter already of decline? Yes, we did. January, February, March. This next quarter is going to be another one. So guess what? We might be in another recession. Okay, and we might be in another recession. We probably are in the middle of a recession right now. Okay, so now think about that. Recessions are not bad. Recessions are the times when you get all your strategies, when you get the right partners. You know, the right partners are going to be the ones that are going to stay, the ones that are going to grow together. And right now we are really excited because we have the right partners and we are about to make big moves. It's all about strategy. When recession is going on, strategy. The most money made is made during recessions. Okay, so if right now you're panicking, maybe it's because you're not around the right leadership. Maybe it's because you were fooled and you went somewhere and now you're regretting it. So remember, right now is the time to be surrounded by the right leaders, by the right partners, and by the right people, the right environment, and you got to have a strong mindset. Okay, so having said that, guys, I hope this helps. Stay away from nasty podcasts with wannabes. There's so many podcasts out there. Stay away from them. Choose the right one. Much love.